and a warm welcome to Public Global. I'm Neelu Vyas. Tempers are running high as far as Operation Sindoor is concerned. There's a lot of anxiety. Now, what has happened? If you talk about the latest situation, the Indian Armed Forces targeted Pakistan's Sir defense radars and systems at several locations on Thursday, which is today in the morning. A Ministry of Defense statement said that an air defense system at Lahore has been neutralized. Pakistan attempted to engage several Indian military targets using drones and missiles on the intervening night of May 7th and 8th. And these drones were effectively neutralized by the Indian Armed Forces. Now, this is the first official statement coming from the Defense Ministry after the press conference, which happened yesterday in the morning. Now, in the middle, what has happened? There's too much of confusion because of loads of misinformation on both sides. You just have to pick up the social media and you'll get a feel of what is actually happening. If you look at the social media, how it's operating on the Indian side, it seems that we have bombed many cities across Pakistan. And if you look at the Pakistani social media, you will feel that various cities of Punjab have been bombed, they've been droned. So that is the kind of impression which is coming across. Whereas the situation is serious, it seems that the situation is escalating, but there is no briefing except for one press release which came in the afternoon, and it showed that apparently the situation is far from normal. One may call it a Sindoor 2.0, which means Operation Sindoor 2.0, which means that India has struck back at Pakistan once again. But why is there not enough briefing? Now, today there was an all-party meeting as well in which Prime Minister was not there for some reasons. I'm not getting into that. But the all-party meeting, which was attended by so many political leaders, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh said that some 100 terrorists have been killed. But there is no official numbers of the casualties on our side. So there is some lack of information. There is some lack of transparency. How can we bridge this lack of information in times like these? Because it can lead to a lot of panic, and especially in times when social media is hyperactive. Joining me now is retired Brigadier Ajit Apte. So thank you so much for joining. And my first question to you, sir, is that the latest strike which has been conducted by India, and it seems which has been authenticated and substantiated by the Defense Ministry. So are we in a position to say that this is Sindoor 2.0 now, which is underway?
Thank you, Neelu. Yes, I'm aware that we have responded. To call it 2.0 would be all right in a way, or let's call it Sindoor Phase 2. Sindoor Phase 1 was our response to what happened on 22nd April 2025. So we responded, we took our own time, we executed a measured, calibrated response to 22nd April. That was Operation Sindoor. Now, you can call it 1.0 or whichever way you wish to call it, but Sindoor launched on night 6th, 7th May. Definitely invited a response. It was an anticipated retaliatory response from the other side, which happened. And as we all know, it is there on all the social media, so I'll not repeat it. But yes, they did respond, and that response was negated or nullified or neutralized by our air defense systems to ensure that none of their missiles hit the various locations that they were targeted on. So we then gave a response to their retaliation. And you can call it, yes, Sindoor Phase 2, or you want to call it Sindoor 2.0. That's also all right. It's just semantics, or how you term it. But we thought that we only responded to 22nd April, so that should have stopped there, and the escalation ladder would not be started to be climbed. But they have done that. So if they've done that, we had our anticipatory response mechanism ready, and that's what we executed yesterday night. and that is what is being reported in all the news channels.
But my question to you, sir, is yesterday's brief was very well specified that this operation is non-escalatory. Would you still call it non-escalatory? Because if it's escalating like this, like yesterday, there was at the Pooch and the J&K borders, where there were casualties on our side as well. And I think that number has been put out by to 13 or 14, if I'm not very sure of that. I think it's 13 or 14 of them have been injured. Would you still call it non-escalatory? Would you still say that we are we are just responding to what happened on 22nd April?
Yes, I will still maintain that we have initiated our response on the night of 6th and 7th as our response. And we made it clear that whatever happened on 22nd April in Pahalgam is unacceptable. It is not acceptable to any civilized country. You have unleashed genocide on our civilian population who were mere tourists. That is not acceptable. So we took our time and gave a measured, calculated response, which I presume should have been understood by them. But in all protocols, it is always anticipated that this kind of kinetic response, even theirs was a kinetic initiative on 22nd April. So ours has been a kinetic response to that initiative. So we thought that that would stop everything. But if the other side does not wish to stop, so it is an escalation from their side, and it is only a response from us to their escalation. And therefore, I will still maintain that ours has been a response without an escalatory ladder being climbed up. But obviously, what happens is when you get a response from the other side and you give a retaliatory response, in some terms, it can be interpreted as an escalation ladder being climbed. But then who's responsible for that escalation ladder to be climbed? That is important to note. And what happens is that the kind of response or the kind of messages that come out, which you touched upon, so I'm going to answer that question. They come out either through press briefings, and that is the normal protocol. You see, what happens is uh, operational details cannot be disclosed immediately. They are collated information from the armed forces given to the government. From the government, press briefings are conducted. Similarly, on the other side, also the adversary also has his own mechanism and protocols. So he'll also follow that. Now, what happens is in the media, you pick up two inputs, one from our side, one from their side. Now, so also when these inputs are given in the public domain, there is a third party which comes in. And what is that third party? It is the foreign press. It's the it's the global media which steps in. And if you see BBC, if you see New York Times, if you see other international domains, they will always say, as quoted by so and so, and that is how they put out. So now this results in three dimensional information pieces which come out in the public domain and on the social media. So now what does the public have to believe? The public has to believe three sets of information. One is what we put out, one is what the adversary puts out, and one is what the third party picks up, and that is the global media. So obviously, as you brought out, it leads to a certain amount of confusion, or what we call as the fog of war, when you don't really pick up what exactly has happened. So, to give you an idea, in the earlier times, when you take the 1971 war, you take at that time everyone relied only on print media. So everyone waited for 24 hours to read the newspapers and really gather what happened. But at that time there was no social media. So you could not put any type of views and interpret it or give it a twist. But today, what is happening is these twists are being given. Uh, the social media, like various Twitter handles, the WhatsApp, and whatever you have, Facebook, for example, all are giving their own versions. And therefore, the public domain really is getting confused. So, in other words, we are probably achieving an overload of information. We are achieving excessive transparency in
No, but
different.
in this particular case, Brigadier, you could negate the fact that in times of social media, when there is loads of misinformation, shouldn't there be more number of briefings from the army side or from the political fraternity side? Now that they can themselves decide that who's going to brief the press when, but there should be constant briefing so that there is no misinformation. There's so much of anxiety. There are people traveling, and it almost looks like a full blown war now, whether they call it a war or not. But any sort of escalation amidst mock drills leaves the entire nation so anxious. So shouldn't there be more number of briefings from the government side and from the army side as well?
Okay, now what happens is uh, what the government picks up as information is basically what inputs they get from the armed forces side, who are actually the people who have executed certain actions. They also get inputs from the diplomatic environment because geopolitically, geostrategically, what reactions are coming on a particular action that has happened geographically, which is probably contained or restricted to a particular zone, a particular sub-region or region. So you have two different types of inputs to come in for a proper press briefing. Now, how exactly it is planned? Currently, as we have said, it is once in 24 hours, and probably that needs to be increased so that, as you say, people have more transparency and more visibility to find out what exactly is happening and adjust their programs. And those programs would basically be traveling. Now, if you see, uh, certain travel advisories have already been issued, not only by our country, but at the global level, at the international level, travel advisories have been issued. So I would say that on one hand, you have put across a valid point that shouldn't there be more press briefings, more frequent. Now, see, today is only day two of Operation Sindoor. Let's wait because I'm sure the government agencies also have their own compulsions. And if you have heard the press briefing, it is evident that the spokesperson has put it across that they also cannot reveal too much of operational information. It is counterproductive for the government agencies, for the armed forces to reveal too much. We as citizens must accept the fact, and the media also, that unnecessary trigger happiness on the social media, unnecessary trigger happiness on the television by various channels needs to be curbed because I do accept the fact that everyone wishes to put across what is happening and happening real time information, RTI, 24 by 7. Everyone wants instant, information to come out, and why not? Because today the domains are different. The acquisition of means of information is fast, quick, and it is global. So everyone wants it, not only in India, but all over US, globally, Australia, everyone wants because we have got our citizens or nationals traveling, they are abroad, they are at different locations, they are settled there, their kith and kin are in India or some are abroad. So they would like to know. So I do understand and appreciate that information, if it could be given on a twice a day system, would be better. That's what you're suggesting. Am I right? Yes. So So
Yes.
now let's leave it to the government mechanism, and
True.
I'm sure they will realize in times to come. Today is only day two, D plus two. I'll call it, or D plus one. I'll call night 6th, 7th May as D day. So today is D plus one. So let's wait. I'm sure that on a need to know basis, the right kind of messages will be given so that due precautionary measures are instituted by different agencies to ensure that our citizens are safe and secure. And also, all other mediums of travel, be that surface travel or air travel or travel by sea or by inland water systems, are appropriately protected and appropriately safeguarded, because that is the intention of all governments, to ensure that its citizens are protected. And medium of information is definitely required, because people would like to know what is happening. But people must realize that what is happening needs to be filtered information which comes down, rather than haphazard pieces of information which later get not collated correctly and give a different picture, which can be alarming and which can be counterproductive to our main effort.
Right. One quick question, and then I'm going to wind up the interview, Brigadier Rafi, is that do we call it a full-blown war between India and Pakistan right now, or do we still call a retaliatory strike? Because many people are saying that if after the yesterday's strike, if it has escalated again, then is it heading towards a war between India and Pakistan? You have to unmute, sir. Unmute, sir. Yes. Very
Is it,
briefly.
are
Very
you-
briefly. Yes.
yeah. Yeah, I will not call it a war right now. It is still within the parameters, within the boundaries of an escalation in the ladder, and we are still at the lowest rung. And I'll still call it a responsive mechanism, or a response mechanism that we have executed to 22 April. No one wants a war. Let me be very honest with you. No sane person wants a war. People who have fought a war, people who have experienced what happens in war, will realize that war is the ultimate solution which should be avoided. It's not a war at the moment. We've got very intelligent leadership. We've got, people who realize what are the adverse impacts of war. So this is not a war, and let us, also desist from using this term at the moment. At the moment, I mean, ultimately, we will not be able to say how things will shape up or pan out to. But at the moment, it is within the precincts and within the parameters and boundaries of a response mechanism which we have applied. I call it a response mechanism with a retaliation method that we have executed on night 6, 7, and we have further, magnified the scale and magnitude of the second response mechanism as a retaliation to what our adversary did on yesterday night, or last night. So I'll maintain that, and I'm sure our armed forces and all our other mechanisms of the government, political, diplomatic, are executing their tasks within the domains that they are expected.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for joining the public. Thank you.